So sometimes just getting them to the point where, oh my God, okay, I understand where I'm at. I understand the loan program. I understand cash to close, and I understand where my payment's going to be. That was a lot. Thank you. And then it's like, great, let's do part two as soon as we can. So, and sometimes for the part two, I'll get the realtor on the call as well.
Hey, welcome to Loan Officer Growth Podcast. Today I'm excited. We have Jeff Garber on. Jeff is a coach and also a loan officer at Crosscountry Mortgage and a dear friend of mine, all around awesome person. Jeff really helps his borrowers and his realtors win the offer. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today with you, Jeff. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Always great to see you. Appreciate the kind words.
Awesome. How many times am I going to say awesome?
As many times as it takes.
Hey, man, why don't you, I really honestly want to hear about the things that you do to help win offers, help win the buyer's offers. And I know you do, it's kind of twofold. You do things you educate really well your borrowers, but at the same time, you educate and you help your realtor partners. So if I'm a loan officer listening to this podcast today, let's tell all your secrets if you can.
Yeah. No problem. As we were talking about in the green room here before, sometimes like the best ideas are really right in front of you, and you don't have to dig as deep sometimes.
Right.
To try and reinvent something, i.e. in this example, everybody, what value can we bring to realtors that other loan officers just aren't bringing? What's a big value add? And, we know that putting more money in their pocket is by far the biggest and best value add that we can bring. But the secret also is we are putting more money in their pockets when they're referring us borrowers, and we're helping them, their borrowers, win the offer at a rate that is much better than what typically happens in the industry. And what I mean by that is, it's funny because I was talking to a realtor yesterday, and she really just started using me, but she was really frustrated that she has this one couple that they won't do anything off the cuff to win the offer. And she spent hours showing them like 45 or 50 houses,
Wow.
writing 20 or 30 offers, and they won't budge. And it's because they weren't educated properly behind the scene. So our big value add, and I'm, as you said, thank you. I'm at Crosscountry Mortgage. My branch is a huge purchase branch, huge. And these are the strategies that we do as a whole.
Right.
And there's three parts to it that I think are critical. One is we want to have a strategic pre-approval. So after we do what everybody else does, right? The regular pre-approval, we collect income, assets, we look at it, right? We calculate income, we run AUS, we talk to our borrowers, and we ultimately all get to the same spot of here's your monthly payment, here's how much money you need. Awesome. When you find a home, let me know. Happy to run numbers for you 24/7. Happy to get you a pre-approval letter. And most people stop right there.
Right.
The challenge with that is it's only half the job right now. When you put the strategy behind it, so after you get the pre-approval done, the next step is to say, all right, let's look at this market. What are we in right now? Are we in a high rate, low inventory market, or are we in a low rate, low inventory market? And right now we're coming off the high rate, low inventory market. We're still high, but we're not as high as we were. But what are the characteristics of that market, right? So rates are a little higher. We're still going to see multiple offers in most parts of the country. I'm speaking generally now. There's some areas where that's not happening. But for the most part, at least in our market, we're still seeing multiple offers going over ask, waiving appraisal contingencies, waiving inspections. Like that's still what it takes in many markets to get a home. Well, we're going to address that in the pre-approval phase. All right, we're going to talk about that because the last thing you want to do is have a client find a home Saturday at 1 p.m. and the asking price is $300,000 and they haven't done any research. They don't understand what bid over ask really means. They don't understand what appraisal gap really means because no one's ever really brought it up. Now it's a fire drill, and they call you, and you find out that there's going to be 20 or 30 offers. There's a $300,000 house, but they don't want to go in any higher than 305 because $5,000 to them is a lot of money, which it is, but it's all relative, right? We know as loan officers that $5,000 does practically nothing in most cases with the multiple offer. If there's 20, 30 offers on the house and it's priced right, it's going to go over by more than 5. So what we do is we show them, hey, what if we go over 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? Depending on the offer. We do this in pre-approval and we show them, hey, if we had to go over 30,000, here's about where you would recoup that based on appreciation. Here's how much your monthly payment will go up, which is never as much as they think it's going to go up.
Right.
Right. Here's what happens if it doesn't appraise. Here's how we can play with the loan to value. And again, I'm cutting to the chase, but number one thing that, is have a strategy with your clients so that when they find that house at Saturday at 1 and they're coming to you, now the question is, all right, Jeff, it's listed at 300. Can we run a bid over ask? Our realtor told us there's going to be multiple offers on it. We love this house and we're prepared to go in at our highest and best offer. And now we have them prepared. They're not emotionally panicking. When imagine telling them you have to go in 20, 30 grand over that day and they've never heard that before.
Right.
That's culture shock. That would scare the pants off of me, So we address it in pre-approval in what we call a strategic consult. So that's step number one, is having your buyer prepared for what the market is, what it's going to take to win the offer. Now, we're not going to win them all with these strategies, but we will reduce the amount of offers that you write because we're going to do this right. All right. Number two is loan officer needs to call the listing agent. And you probably heard this before, but it still amazes me how many listing agents I call that are like, wow, you're like the only person that's ever done this.
Right.
So even though this concept is out there, very few people are doing it. Very few.
It's crazy.
So when you call the listing agent, introduce yourself, tell them the borrower's been fully pre-approved, right? We even fast track some of these loans and get them approved so that all we need is title and an appraisal and we can close in 2 weeks, right? That's critical. Let them know, and here's another kicker, you can ask the realtor, hey, what do we got to do to win the offer? Because you probably think, hey, most realtors aren't going to tell you. You'd be surprised how many realtors drop their guards, especially if they know you or your company. Like our company has a good name in our market, and there's a lot of different branches out there. But they hear Crosscountry in our market, and they're like, yeah, we know they're going to get it closed. So that already helps me right there. And then I say, hey, what do we got to do? And some of them will drop their guards and say, highest and best, is going to be critical, and some of them are really telling the truth. You'd be surprised. Now, some of them won't tell you anything, but hey, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So number one, we're really preparing our clients. Number two, we're calling the listing agent to sell our clients on every offer. And number three, we offer a $10,000 close on time guarantee to the seller, not the buyer, but the seller. So we have a contract. So when we call the listing agent, we explain that as well. And we send them over that certificate, which we've run by compliance. So we got all the verbiage on it that we need. And believe it or not, in this market, that is helping us win more offers. So,
I'll bet.
Those three things right there are critical.
So the consultation, how long is that usually that you have with the borrower to be proactive with all of these things?
Yeah. So when I first started doing it a couple of years ago, I tried to do it all at one appointment. So I would do the pre-approval, which could take, let's just say a half an hour right there. Then you could add another half an hour for a strategy call. So it is possible to do it in an hour. I just think you have to know your client because, just the pre-approval part is overwhelming to so many people. So sometimes just getting them to the point where, oh my God, okay, I understand where I'm at. I understand the loan program. I understand cash to close and I understand where my payment's going to be. That was a lot. Thank you. And then it's like, great, let's do part two as soon as we can. So, and sometimes for the part two, I'll get the realtor on the call as well. And I emphasize that triangle of trust,
Right.
right? All these things I'm doing too are also behind the scenes psychological tactics. I don't want to say tactics, but I don't, you don't want to get shocked, right? And I want my clients to know that, hey, you need the right realtor and the right loan officer from the start. We need to form a triangle with no kinks in it from day one all the way through settlement, or we're going to have problems, right? And you're not going to get that everywhere you go, especially with some banks and credit unions, at least in our market.
Right.
The banks and credit unions are open, what, 8 to 4, not to be, they're order takers. There's no consultation. It's what would you like? I'd
They're
like,
sending
like,
out a pre-approval letter and then
yeah,
that's it. And
here's
I
our
think
menu.
that's happening a lot out there.
Yeah. And there's no strategy behind it. And the client's basically ordering. I'd like a 30-year fix with 20% down, please, and a side of escrows. I mean, you know,
Right.
great. I always ask my clients what they want as well, but then we talk and we talk through it and realize, maybe 20% down is not the right move. Maybe it is 10% down and we can use the difference. You all know the strategies there, but once we explain that, your realtor's a big part of this triangle, I'm a big part of this triangle, you're a big part of this triangle, and we don't want any kinks in it, that goes a long way. And so what happens is if you bring the realtor in on the strategy call, now they're there to reinforce the part and the piece where they're an expert at. And where I
Right.
need them is, hey, you found a property. Let's pretend you found a property. The first thing we're going to do is going to have your realtor look at the listing, see if it's priced right, reach out to the listing agent, do as much intel as she can or he can, find out if there's multiple offers, find out where this thing might appraise based on comps, right? Because she provides a lot of the answers that I need to figure out our strategy, right? Hey, if they're putting 20 or 30% down, but we don't think it's going to appraise, hey, that gives me LTV room to play with. You know, they don't have to come up with the extra cash. We could reduce the loan to value, roll it in there if we're going to have an appraisal gap. In other words, we're between the two experts, mortgage and loan, and what our clients want, we can really get them set in pre-approval. So to answer your question, sometimes I do it all in one, depending on how savvy the borrower is and how I get a read on them if they, are
Right.
grasping it, or we'll do the consult at another time and we set it up via Zoom.
Yeah, that's awesome. And talk about a great way to build rapport and keep them from shopping you.
Yeah, I mean it's critical to provide value. We can't skip steps like we were able to do in the past and get away with it. I truly believe you need to have a bulletproof process with your clients that you don't skip steps on.
Right.
And you know, and you got to reduce the amount of times that you get shopped, right? That's just something we have to deal with. But it's very, very, it works.
Yeah. So when you make that initial phone call to the listing agent, introduce yourself, let them know how strong your borrower is. Is that when you mention to them to communicate to their seller that you guys have a $10,000 guarantee?
Yep. So if you're going to offer it, that's the time you do that. Some of the realtors are so in tune with it that they'll ask us for that with the pre-approval and they'll submit that
Right.
with the pre-approval. Some don't. And I just communicate with my realtor, but if not, I'll call the listing agent and tell them, hey, this borrower qualifies for a $10,000 close on time guarantee to your seller. I'd like to explain to you how that works. I'll send you over the certificate. And if you'd like to get your seller on the phone, happy to share that with them too. So we've won offers that weren't
Oh,
highest
I'm
and best.
sure. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I really like that. What have you have you guys ever been on have you ever had a late closing?
No,
Okay.
no, no. We've been doing this long before, God, since 2015 or 2016, probably we've been doing it. So we've done this through several different markets. One time we almost did.
Right.
But for the most part, we either eyeball this thing and get a second set of eyeballs on it, or we run it through our fast track program, which is, if we're not sure the loan has
Right.
hair on it, we'll get it underwritten and
Nice.
then have the TBD. Yep.
Yeah, that's man, that's such an awesome process. Talk about wowing the listing agent and having them on your side for the when they talk to the sellers.
Yeah, it's huge. And most loan officers all promote the same thing, right? I'm competitive with rate and fee. I communicate. We close on time, right? Realtors hear it all the time. Frankly, they turn their head the other way. It's like I hear that every day from every single loan officer. And I've gotten burned in the past here. I've gotten burned in the past there.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're going to put our money where our mouth is here.
Yeah,
So let us audition. Give us a try.
yeah, I don't think anybody's doing that, or very, very few loan officers are approaching it that way.
Yeah, it's a big value add. How are we making you more money? Hey, we're first, we're helping win more offers, and we're also reducing the amount of work you're doing for each buyer, right? You're not writing as many offers as you were before. We're helping you with the education, right? And that leaves you free time to go after more business and not get bogged down, in this frustration loop of writing offers over and over and over again for people aren't ever going to get their offer accepted.
Right.
It's crazy. And we also offer, this is as our branch, as I said, we're a really strong purchase branch. Every other Tuesday night, 6 o'clock p.m., we offer a buyer Zoom, free buyer Zoom webinar where we invite realtors. We invite them to ask anybody they have that's sitting on the fence, right? The people that are waiting for rates to come down and housing to crash, or one of them versus the other, or both, whatever. Get all these people on the call. We're gonna educate them. We're not gonna sell them. Like, look, here's what the media is not telling you. Here's what's going on in housing. Here's what we do to help you win the offer. Here's how you win an offer in 2024 right now. And we also offer it to people that we've recently pre-approved, right? To keep them engaged in with us. So you might pre-approve somebody and everybody following the daily success plan that is doing Thursday pre-approved and looking calls. Every once in a while, it's a good idea to invite one of them. Hey, it's been a while. Why don't you jump on the buyer seminar as a refresh? So we run it every other week. We get some realtors on there. We get the buyers on there because we want our realtors to know what we're doing too. They love it. And we've gotten people off the fence just from doing that too.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome strategy. You can literally invite all your old leads for years onto these. It's basically a home buyer seminar, but it's live on Zoom, right?
It's live on Zoom and it's not that standard, hey, here's how mortgages work, income,
Right.
it's not that. It's, hey, look, this is what's going on in the market. Here's the economics behind it. Here's what appreciation's been doing. Here are the numbers. Here's the meaning for it. Here's where rates are. Here's why we think you should still buy now. You're not going to be tied into this loan for 30 years. There will be a refinance opportunity down the road. Don't look at this
Right.
as, oh my God. So we're just trying to educate as much as we can and help people make the right decision.
I love that, man. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's been good for us. And as I said, we don't win every offer with it, but man, we're winning more because we do this.
Right.
And
So
that's
on that live Zoom, how do you track the attendees? Like if you let's say you input or email out 200 old leads to attend this meeting and you get 20 of them that attend or 10 or 15, how do you track that? Because those are now, I would consider warm leads, right?
Yep. So we're using Go High Level now for that, where we're building out invites for everything that we offer now.
Yep.
And that CRM, so to speak, will do all the tracking for it. And then Jen, my wife, who works with us for the branch, she's really in charge of that whole piece that you just said.
Cool.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So, and you brought up a good point. Tracking is huge, huge. As a loan officer, that's our number one thing, at least on the internal coaching that we're doing right now with all of our loan officers. Tracking is number one. You got to know where everything is coming from and every activity that you're doing, and because that's how you find holes in your business and you can plug them. So we're really big on tracking all of our calls, all of our leads, all of our whatever we're doing, we're tracking now, and we're finding it to be very helpful.
Nice. Man, time flew by, Jeff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
What words of encouragement do you have for loan officers right now that kind of in the current times we're in? What's your word of encouragement?
I think less people are calling on realtors right now. I think a lot of people are frustrated. I think the businesses out there, they're looking for help. So I would get motivated and reach out to as many of them as you can, because you'll be surprised. It's not as hard as it was a few months ago, even 6 months ago. A lot of loan officers are gone. And I think we're past the worst of this. We can't control rates. The refi boom will come when it's going to come, but until it comes, we got to go capture as many realtors as we can, and as many, work on as many leads as we can get. And it's not as hard as we think. Just pick a strategy or two and go all in on it, and it will work. Because that's what we're seeing.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for being on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun. Love it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Likewise.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hit like and please leave a 5-star review. Appreciate you guys.